keep it.
All right, I got 10 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can I roll call, please?
Fitch, here.
Clifton,
Here.
Stansel.
Here.
And all present, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Shelley, walk us through this.
Okay.
What are we looking at? What changes have been made? What hasn't been made? Et cetera.
Yep, so I emailed you the fund balance worksheet. The three funds that we're looking at is the general fund, the general supplemental fund, and the rural fund. The rural fund is on the bottom of the second page. So what I've done here is I have, the elected officials have been reduced to 3.57%. Because if you take Jason from 7% to 5%, you're taking 27 or something percent of his raise. So you gotta take 27% of the others.
Okay.
So it ends up to 3.57%. So this is moving the elected officials down to 3.57%. When I did that, it moved the percentage about 0.3%. So it was a very small amount to move that.
So barely moved that needle on the balance.
Yeah, what made such a significant impact on here is the treasurer's office has received in almost $300,000, I think, in interest revenue on their accounts, and there was no amendment submitted to me for that amount. So, and an amendment to revenue is not required, but what it doesn't, the system doesn't know to plan on that money if it's not adjusted.
Okay.
So I went in and added in that interest revenue for that account, and that's what brought that up quite a bit to give us that 19%. Because as of right now, she had only budgeted $100,000 in revenue. She's already brought in $235,060 in revenue for the interest on investments. So I went in and did a re-estimate of $350,000, because if we're already at $235 halfway through the year, even that may be a little low, but that's what allowed us to have some relief in that fund to bring that up.
And
But
we're
it-
keeping it conservative in case interest rates change.
Correct, in case
Okay.
they change sometime between now and the end of the year. For next year,
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. What did she have budgeted for?
so
next
for
year?
next year, she budgeted $408,000.
That's still kind of conservative.
It is if the rates stay the same. I mean, you're looking at halfway through the year, there's a potential you could be at 470 next year.
Do you think we should lower that? Do you think it's not
All signs
conservative
are for
enough?
decreasing interest rates, but I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna
I don't
be
think
back to where we used to be.
So I mean, you could decrease that down a little bit if you wanted to, 408. In FY '23, she brought in 407. In FY '22, $28,000.
Exactly.
So that's where you've seen the big change.
Is there more money, that investments that haven't been claimed, you know?
No, I kind of looked through, the recorder's office has a small account. Her investment, it's not a ton of money, but that was a substantial change. I mean, when you're looking at $100,000 versus 350 potentially, that's $250,000 swing. So I went ahead and put that in as a re-estimate, which is what brought this up.
I'm looking at the first three columns on the left, the budget re-estimated actual, is that revenue?
That's revenue.
That's revenue, okay,
Mhm.
so the ones on the right are the expenditures.
Expenditures,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
So then you'll see, we could potentially end FY '24 with 19.55% and end FY '25 with 19.5%, the way things sit.
That's not,
I have not received anything from public health or home health with their cuts yet. I don't know who was in charge of relaying that
I
information.
relayed it to the board chair,
Okay.
and so I don't know where it went from there.
Gotcha.
They do meet tonight,
Okay, so
so,
maybe,
and I'll be at that meeting, so we'll be discussing that.
okay,
And if we decide to do more than that, then I'll be letting
Okay.
you know that.
okay.
I want to share something, now that we're talking about public health. I got a call after I think you spoke with the chair, really upset that evidently they were told we were getting rid of public health and it was a done deal. Because I got a call and I said, we haven't
They
decided.
could have interpreted that because of the cut, but I don't know.
And I said, we haven't done anything, nothing is final yet. We're going back and forth and discussing, nothing's final. Please don't get your noses out of joint, but
That's probably what happened is they
misinterpreted
They
it.
misinterpreted it.
So, there are no reductions in public health?
And I've not made one reduction to public health or home health, and I think you decided 40 out of each.
It was
Is that
45,
right?
it was 45 out of homemaker, and I think it was like 53 out of,
Okay,
because you had wanted to, because they were at 303,000 under public health.
yes,
And we had agreed to just make it an even 250.
okay, yep,
And then I think we said 45,000 out of homemaker health.
yep, okay, yes.
We
So
do-
not quite 100,000.
So
Since-
that's not impact, so you take that out, you're pushing that number up a little more.
Let me ask a question. If you read Iowa code, do we have to have, so if we take Thaddeus and move him out because we need veterans.
He's
affairs,
technically not public health. He just sits in public health.
But
He
we
doesn't
could
fall
move
under
him and we could take, if we choose to keep the home health care, can we dissolve the rest of it and keep health care and him and get
You
rid of?
mean, you mean.
Because if you look at their own report, they're not doing very many,
I know.
and the money we're paying,
Well, keep in mind though, home health, that grant goes away, and they're already stacking it down. I mean, they reduced it, I think, 75%.
Spending, yeah.
This year, I think it's 50%, and by 2027, it's gonna be 0. So that means it'll be gone. And we're already backfilling that cost because the grant has gone down. So we need to keep that in mind, that public health, that the homemaker health, eventually, we're gonna have no money to fund it.
and if you look, it's just really, really costly for what they're showing. I mean, if you do 20 immunizations for a half a year, that's just, and we have a building and all these employees,
Well, especially since.
I don't wanna get rid of it, but we have to look at.
We have to look at
business.
that, I think we need to evaluate, is there anything that the private sector can do? And for immunizations, you can go to Montrose, you can go to Hy-Vee, and sometimes get it for free or very low cost.
And Medicare and Medicaid will cover that.
Yes,
Right,
yes,
so
so why do we
why
have
are
both?
we? Yeah, so anyway, but yeah, I don't know why they didn't send it to you, maybe they didn't understand now that Sean's gone that they have to do that.
Yes, he
So-
did, I went out there, they did understand it.
But they needed to do
They
an
just didn't
update.
do it.
Well, who's gonna do it? Pretty much the board.
Well, Susan can do it
Yeah.
supposedly, but I don't know if that was relayed to her or not.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think she did most of the budget anyway, so, I mean,
I think so.
Loretta, I shouldn't say that, Loretta did Department 42, but Loretta's a week from being out here, so, but I did not receive that. I got conservations this morning at 8:56, I was able to get that put in there. I did finally get the treasurer's office late at the end of last week. So I'm having some issues getting people to turn their stuff in.
Who else is outstanding other than public health?
I think that was it, cause I got conservations, there's no change there. Yeah, I think that was all, we didn't have any cuts to secondary roads, right?
No.
Well, that's kind of, no,
Yeah, okay.
Now,
they're
No.
just
I-
kind of.
had a meeting last week, and some other supervisors were talking about budgets and whatnot, and they were talking about slashing secondary roads and how they were making it up, and as I understand the funding, that doesn't
You
really make
can't-
much difference.
No, I
It
don't,
Who
doesn't.
was saying slash?
I think it was Warren.
Warren and Jasper
Warren.
County mentioned that that's where they were.
Oh,
gonna-
that's right. Well, the only way they can do that is if they were supplementing from their general fund for specific projects.
Yeah.
but that's.
That has
I
nothing to
didn't-
do with.
Yeah, it's not
I
gonna,
didn't quite understand how you could save a lot of money by.
it's not gonna help us at all.
No.
I just couldn't sleep, I agonize over this, but I think public health, it's just a really costly.
It's very costly
We're not getting a
considering,
bang for a buck, and
considering the private sector already offers the same services and we're directly competing with them, which I'm not comfortable with.
And I think, like Phil said, if you're on Title 19, you can go get all your shots and things, why would you go? And it's free, or if you're on Medicaid, so I don't know, we're just duplicating something that I don't, and we're not using it very efficiently.
So what are you thinking, Diane, that we cut it more?
I think we should see what they have to say at their meeting this evening.
But they didn't even cut the budget when we requested.
I mean, that's a good point.
And so they're probably gonna say up yours, but
But they
Well,
kinda need to have
I
a
don't think
plan.
they're gonna say that.
They kinda need to have a plan on how they're gonna
maybe.
address things.
The conversation I had with the chair is, he was kind of shocked about the cuts, first of all, and second of all, he didn't know how they were gonna address it. So I'm sure there'll be a discussion tonight. Based on my past experience, I don't know if they're gonna have a resolution tonight.
And they're not trying to hire to fill
Well, it's on their agenda to talk about that, so
Sean's
I.
position. Okay, well, after he's gone, they're only talking about. it.
Right.
You know, it's-
Now,
So.
see, they didn't try before, they put nothing out.
So, I mean, I'm willing to look at that more, Diane, and just kind of just, if we wanna just do it, rip the Band-Aid off, that's fine.
Well,
But I
per
wanna make sure
code,
we do it in an organized fashion, so we're
But
not
there
leaving
are certain
people on
things
the
that
head.
have to look over, or they're not.
Mhm.
Public health has to oversee certain,
well,
things like-
They, if we decide to do it, then yes, they would oversee it. If we choose that the county doesn't do it, then no, they wouldn't oversee it.
they
Now,
are,
there's certain things they're required to do, like they have to do an annual report of the condition, but they hired someone to do that this year. They didn't do it, they hired a contractor because they worked with the hospital. So, the requirements under code, they can contract out for that.
they're really supposed to, if you have a natural disaster like a tornado, they were supposed to function. They didn't, in all reality.
well, is it natural disaster or like a
Well,
pandemic or?
It's a
Well,
pandemic.
it said under FEMA, if you read the code, it's anything that would be closely related to FEMA.
Under Iowa code or federal code?
I read Iowa code,
Okay.
so I don't know,
So I'm sure, the way the code reads is, if they decide to do it, then they have authority. So if we decide to have public health, then it automatically rolls up to the Board of Health. Because there are counties that do not have a public health department. But all of them have to have a Board of Health. And not a lot of them have home health. In fact, that's one of the things that is being cut now in the counties, is because it's not required under Iowa code. So I'm not quite sure how to do this, if we want to rip the Band-Aid off entirely, or we want to do a staggered, but then again, do we let people know so they have an opportunity to find other
Well,
jobs?
and home health
you know?
is a tough nut because it varies so much, what it costs. I mean, we looked at a little bit for, what would it take for to have that for my mother? And like, oh my goodness, it's astronomical. Like more expensive than nursing home kind of, because they have minimum number of hours that they had to come and they
Right.
did this, that, and the other thing, and they couldn't do this, but they could do that, and it's like, that's a
So
small fortune
based
for
on-
not a lot.
it's based on how much money, it is so variable. What if could we somehow, I know you're gonna run out of money, but if we dissolve public health, we sell the building, could we somehow help fund some of the home care?
You mean like do like a grant type thing?
I mean, I don't want it to.
Like put it under general assistance maybe?
Maybe, because some of these people will have to go to a nursing home maybe, and that's not cost effective.
No, but I guess the question is, should the county taxpayers be funding that, is the
Well-
question. I mean, is that a proper rule of government? I like the idea of maybe moving it to under general assistance to where they have to, so there's a lot more oversight, I think, so they make sure they qualify. Now, how we would handle the whole Medicare thing though is the question. I don't know if Matura is set up for that. So, I don't wanna leave people on their heads, but at the same time,
But if you look at this, as if you owned this company, you couldn't afford it. You just couldn't.
You
It's
couldn't.
not,
it's basically subsidized by taxpayers.
and it's not, it's just so unbalanced, it's not cost.
These fund balances, as they sit right now, without those cuts, you could live with them.
We could.
Well,
But the,
We don't have a union.
except for your
supplement
meeting
yet.
yesterday.
exactly.
So that's.
And I
why-
don't even know where that ended,
It
but,
ended.
yeah,
It ended miles apart.
Yeah.
Miles apart.
and I know we can't go
Right.
into that because it was closed session, but, Yeah, there's been, I mean, as of right now, what's in here is 5% for union,
Okay.
so,
So we left that in there and not we didn't move it to 3.57?
no, the conversation you guys said was 3.57 for electeds.
Okay.
That's what you guys said, so
But
that
then you
was any elected officials and their deputies that fall within that.
Okay.
So that's all that's been touched, everybody else is
It's
still
still
at
at
5%.
Okay.
Well, that's better than 3 as far as our conversations went.
Yeah.
Another portion of the conversation was the EMS staffing, going to that 4896, which
Yep.
was in there originally.
Yep,
And we
took
went
it
back.
out. That's been pulled out of here, but
That's gonna
again,
be additional
if
cost.
that's-
That was a
gonna-
big additional cost.
Mike was working on
Did you
getting,
take that fine out of there? Did we reduce that fine?
that was amended in the last amendment.
Oh,
you
yes,
guys
we did.
approved.
Yeah, we
Well,
did.
part of it,
Part
not
of
all of it.
Mike was going to put together some numbers,
Galloway,
Galloway,
okay,
to kind of, so we had something to work with, because we're not meeting with them again until like the 29th.
29th, what did they?
29th, leap year.
Because it was like a 3-day that we had scheduled. He was gonna put something in there so we can get some numbers to you,
Okay,
because we can't pay them what they
No.
want.
No.
And we flat out said that, it's like, we got guardrails on us,
afford
there's gonna come a point, we can't give you what you want.
okay,
So I think if we get that information from Mike, we're gonna plug that in, get the public health, home health, hopefully get some direction from them this evening.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, let's just say I'm not completely confident.
I get that.
What are you, do you have a feeling on where the direction they wanna go?
No. I know the feeling of 2 of the board members, because I talked to them individually. The chair was not happy about the initial cuts. I don't know the feelings of the other 2 board members, because, based on the conversations I heard in the last meeting, the 2 nurses are the ones I talked to, were asking a lot of questions, and they weren't getting satisfactory answers.
You're asking questions too.
About, to Susan and Sean and Loretta, I'm like, what is this for? What exactly do you do? Help me understand. Why are you requiring CNAs for someone basically does homemaking services? You're paying, why would you do that? You don't need to be a CNA to do housekeeping and grocery
Do
shopping.
laundry.
Right, so they didn't seem happy about, I'm speculating. They felt that there wasn't enough oversight to know exactly what they do, and they were really frustrated because they felt like they were shooting in the dark.
Well, I
So,
reached out to Susan, and she cried, because I think everything is
falling on her.
Susan, everything is falling on
yeah, I sent her an
Susan.
email earlier this week and just told her, like, reach out if you need help, because I do think everything got dumped on her.
Yeah.
And has been for the last 2 years. And so I think she's doing a great job with what she has, and she's trying to keep up, but she's taken on a lot of responsibility for
almost
what she was
everything,
hired for.
yes,
And
yes.
unfortunately, she's in a tough spot because her nature is to do a good job and do what she
Yes.
wants,
Right.
and I think she's under a lot of heat right now, and I
Which-
feel bad for her.
Which is not right.
No, it's not right.
It's not right.
No.
I told her how much I appreciate her, but that just made her cry.
Yeah.
It's just too much, they put everything.
Has anybody heard anything about any grants that maybe Sean had applied for that weren't correct, that we maybe aren't getting? I caught wind of that.
So I asked Sean before he left to provide a spreadsheet of all the grants, and the chair of health did as well, so I'm assuming he sent that to the board, I can
Okay.
confirm that.
Okay.
There's only 3 grants that they apply for, and they're not like block grants where they just give you the money, it's a reimbursable grant.
Okay,
So I suppose we'll talk about that today.
Okay.
He
If-
didn't
just thought-
complete it, did he?
I don't know.
and just like if that's like the case, I mean, that's gonna hit here too, because we would have
We went
that on
out.
the revenue side. So I think there's a lot of unknowns out there right now.
I know zoning did the ones for the wells, the environmental grants.
Yeah.
They already did that, so that's submitted, so that's good,
Okay,
so I don't know
good.
about the other ones.
Okay.
Are you talking about the ones if I fill a well, you give me X amount of dollars?
I'm sorry?
Is that the one that if I fill an old well? you-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well plugging.
So, if the board likes, I can send you that spreadsheet that Sean sent me with the list of the grants, so you're aware of it.
But are they, it doesn't tell you they're done, does it? He just let,
It's just tell it, because they wanted to know exactly what he was doing, because to be honest, it made it sound like he was doing all this grant writing, and when I got those, I'm like, there's only 3 grants here. So I don't know enough about it to, so I'm hoping he sent it to the board, but we'll find out tonight. But I can send you that spreadsheet he sent me if you want.
Those are discussions I should have had 2 months ago. I mean,
Yeah.
they knew he was leaving. He gave us about 6 weeks, didn't he?
he did a long time.
Yeah, he did.
The board
Quite
held
some
it
time.
once a month.
Sometimes you might have to meet more than
The problem is there were 2 that wanted to meet more often and they were out.
Or you should stay in touch and know what's going on.
Well,
You know,
they can't, 2 of them can't, more than 2
I know.
can't discuss
I
things,
know.
so, you know, and if there's no desire to meet more than that, then there's not a lot we can do.
It's a volunteer board that's got a lot dumped on their plate too.
So I just think that there's a feeling to restructure public health, I'm not quite sure how that's gonna go though.
Well, it seems to me like we need to know where that sits.
Mhm.
We need to get the information from Mike, kind of have a placeholder in there for that negotiation.
Okay. Then you
So
won't-
I'm looking ahead to when we should meet again.
Okay, and I know, you have your next union negotiation for the other 2 unions on the 20th. So we won't know more,
That one won't be so bad.
until
They don't have to
then.
leave.
I don't think they're, I haven't heard.
So,
I was kind of looking at Wednesday the 14th, maybe?
March 14th?
No, February 14th.
Valentine's Day, we're bringing
Valentine's
flowers
Day.
and candy.
Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday, all at the same time.
All at the same time.
All right,
Yeah.
that, okay, you have to, and I'll tell you, because I have a meeting from about 8:30 to 9:30 with the court systems. They are.
I'm open all day.
I am as well.
Okay, just, I'll do it at, I can
Could
go
we
after
do it-
9:30.
Can you do it a little bit later in the day if that's possible? Otherwise, morning's fine.
Yeah, don't make me come back, because I have to come in the morning.
You'll be here till 9:30,
I have to meet him at 8:30 to 9:30.
10 o'clock?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is that okay, Heather?
Yeah, that'll work.
10 o'clock, and we're gonna do budgets.
And noon, we probably will, like, lock up 10 to noon.
Okay.
Use what we use. You gonna invite me to that, Billy? Otherwise, I put it on here, then I get invited in, it's on my calendar 2 or 3
Yeah,
times.
I will give you a heads up, I got some family stuff going on, so there's a chance I may have to, go to Oklahoma. But I will keep you in the loop on that as
Okay.
to, as of right now, we'll plan on the 14th and we're doing everything. so-
Shelley, when do you have to certify now? It used to be March 15th.
April 30th.
April, oh.
What
well,
about
that's
the
a-
roads thing where they have to certify?
They have to certify by April 15th,
Oh, 15th.
yes.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, so
So
we would at
technically
least
we-
need to say, to be able to say, here's your budget,
like a-
we're not touching your budget, here's
Okay.
where it sits, and then he can proceed.
Okay,
And we
so they
are-
don't need us to certify in order for
Cover,
them
it.
to.
Yeah, they can
Oh,
kinda
okay.
do it,
All
yeah.
right, perfect.
And we're okay with his,
So-
right? So he can have a go-ahead.
Well, I mean,
You never
say
know.
Yeah, we should probably.
the other thing we need to think through, and I don't know if you're ready to do that until after you do with the unions, is what are you thinking for, elected officials and anybody that's not covered under a union or doesn't fall under an elected official? Do you wanna leave them at 5% for now? Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's not gonna be 5%.
No.
What it's gonna be, I don't know. We've generally tried to follow AFSCME on that, so we would know more after February 20th.
Okay.
Should we,
And as I understand it from that meeting with Ann, they really don't have a lot of push on that. I think if it went to arbitration, it's gonna be 3, isn't there 2-9?
Yeah, because I think CPI is 2.8 or 2.9 now, I have to look at the updated
And I don't remember what
numbers.
she said, but they really didn't have a whole lot of a lot of flex, I guess.
If you offer them three, I think they'll take it, but because their union is their one, they just don't hardly have anything. The thing about them though is that the truck drivers and the bridge guys, they're right up there with other counties, but it's the middle, like Joe and Josh Johnson, they're kind of caught up, like some of these employees, they're a little bit lower.
Well, that's
That middle management, they don't.
kind of Mike's call.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of,
Cause he determines the salaries.
yeah,
What he recommends it to us.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of.
Okay, so kind of sitting on that then.
Yeah, we have to wait.
So there's a chance that this could look a lot uglier depending on what the union comes back.
Yeah, and with the unions, right now, we have all of the sheriff deputies paid out of the rural fund. So, you know, you're gonna see a hit to that rural fund. The ambulance department is split. They are, Brady and the full-time guys right now are all paid out of the general, and then all the part-time employees are paid out of the rural. And that, I can move those around because they service everything.
And
But-
can you, in the middle, can you line item move them to make them healthier? If one is looking low, you can take some money.
Across funds,
Yeah,
yes, I can, as long as they fall within,
The
you
same
know,
category.
the same, as long as they fall within the Iowa code. So the general supplemental is the one that we really have to watch what we're paying out of there. So we've pretty much exhausted everything into there that we can. But the rural and the general, when it comes to the ambulance and sheriff, I have the ability to move their stuff kinda wherever we need it for fund balances, because they do serve everybody, so,
But you said your, the numbers for the proposed hourly change is not here, the two additional ambulance.
correct, because we had him pull that out, so he.
Now probably at about another 150, you think?
Let me
With
look at it, because
benefits and
I
salary.
have his budget, and actually, I don't think he ever got back to me and cut the insurance out. He had cut the salaries, but didn't cut the insurance, so the insurance is still in there, because I didn't get that back from him. Just one second.
and we took that full-time employee out of the treasurer, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
What, are we gonna still give her that part-timer?
Well, the part-timer is what she already has, she just hasn't filled it. What we agreed to, and this is what I communicated to her, because I thought this is what we agreed to, was just a seasonal. Put a seasonal in there. So not truly a full part-timer, it's just a seasonal.
And she's real busy tax season.
I'm assuming that's what she's gonna use it for, I mean, I don't know.
he had only budgeted an additional about $60,000.
He,
Brady, for those guys, and I think he was able to do that because when they changed the shifts, then he doesn't have his full-time guys working as much overtime,
Right.
which is driving up the cost of their
their
salary.
argument is they wanna go to that, but they wanna keep their salary the same, even though they're working less hours.
Mhm. Which, if they're gonna keep their salary the same based on their base salary, okay, but if they're gonna say, we wanna keep our salary the same as what we've been making with all of our overtime,
Yeah.
No,
And
not
then
the
that's
that's
part of
different,
the
so it's
deal
based
with-
on the.
It's on their base
It's
salary.
Brady's like, if we do
Try not to
that,
say too much, but.
I'm gonna have more say over who gets the overtime, because right now it kind of,
Right, so
based
we'll
on
reduce the
seniority.
overtime.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
so, yeah, so you're looking at about $60,000 to put that budget back to where it was. Keep in mind, there is still an ambulance in here, the $200,000, the new chassis.
Can we do Can we do a half an ambulance, like we've done half a car, you know, can we do that out of the fiscal?
Well, you can, you're going to have a public hearing if you're gonna pay it across multiple fiscal
Because
years.
you're technically borrowing money.
Yeah, so.
And we talked about possibly using ARP funds for that.
Yeah.
But
You know, and that's already, ARP funds are already slated to be used, all of it for this year. That's just how I've been budgeting to make sure that we're, on track with that. So that shouldn't take a further hit to the fund balances if you wanna pay it out of ARP funds. As of right now, we've got a little over $500,000 left in, 541 left in ARPA funding.
I can't refresh my memory, did you send us an updated breakdown? I know you sent it of the updated cost, I mean the fund balance, but do we have an updated breakdown of what it was used for so far?
You may not, I'll send that to you
Okay.
today, yeah.
Okay.
And I've not seen, have you seen anything on, usually I have to do a report in March for ARPA funding. I've not seen anything that they're requiring that again this year.
I saw a weird,
I got the frequently asked questions email
that
just
one,
this
that's
last week,
what I
but,
got.
so I wanna make sure that's on our
We are
radar,
writing,
so we're.
did you get that? We are writing to inform you of the U.S. Department of Treasury is released frequently at that.
Yeah.
That's all I've gotten to.
Okay, so, anyway, I just wanna make sure that's on our radar and make sure we're doing the reporting for that if required. So, but again, the ambulance is still in there, we did reduce, the sheriff's office down to 1 car instead of 2, so that's in there. Libraries are based on what they had last.
You know, can we lower, they're way higher. Can we actually, we don't wanna give them less, but can we lower it and then next year? The libraries were higher than the,
We're higher than the code says we have to be.
Yeah, we're giving them about double what we have.
yes, so can we, give them what we have to and not double for next year?
Well,
that'd be a rather drastic hit in 1 year.
Well, let's don't take it all, let's just go backwards a little, so we're not double.
we can certainly do that. I'm not entirely in favor of that.
Why?
Just the library?
When I use the library a really lot. Do you know what they're used mostly for? They use computers.
Right.
And there's no oversight if they're young. If you walk behind them, I'm thinking, if I was your mother.
Well, I'm sure they have filters on there, but then again, I'm making an assumption.
Depends where-
I would rather see if we could find other places to save money first before we target the library.
So you wanna keep giving them double?
I don't think we should do more. I think we should just stay the way it is indefinitely until we're scaled up to where they're not double anymore.
I
But,
like
mean,
libraries.
don't get me wrong, if we have no choice, we have to cut it, we have to cut it.
Well, I
But
don't
I'd
wanna
rather
cut-
look
I like
elsewhere
libraries.
first.
It's potential
Right.
spot.
Yeah.
Right.
What about HIRTA? Where are we at that?
We took 10,000 out of our
Yeah.
ask.
So keeping it
So
the
it's at
same.
17.
And, but I still think we should keep an eye on that, considering it's, the folks that use it are still 90% from Winterset. And
I'm
we,
not quite sure how Winterset is so healthy.
oh, you mean,
Well, with what they were given for
Huge
union
raises.
raises.
oh, I know.
And now there's a meeting next week about building a field house,
A field house, what's
So-
that?
like a big, huge indoor recreation complex, YMCA type of a.
See, see, this is what frustrates me, it's like, they're doing all these things because we are subsidizing other things for them.
No,
And I'm not, I can't speak to how it used to be done, but we need to, they can't keep spending money and we can't keep keeping things in our budget because they're not being responsible.
But you know, they say that they cannot sprinkle this building because their infrastructure is so bad underneath.
water
that they
meters
couldn't-
are big.
Yeah,
Right, and that's
That's-
something
that's
I'd be
true for
looking at
all-
before I'd be
most
looking at
work.
a field house,
right, it just seems that the focus is on
commercial.
fun things rather than the
Yes.
necessary expenditures of government. And, again, I don't wanna rip the Band-Aid off completely, because I think that would, harm people. But we definitely need to start looking at that and maybe start scaling things back a little bit. Because we cannot continue to be the fallback for cities' lack of prioritization.
And kind of what's happening is, if you talk to Mike, we do subsidize quite a bit of Winterset. And Mike is saying now that Earlham and St. Charles have annexed in a bunch, and they are just adamant, we will keep plowing it. He can't legally
We were talking about,
plowing their roads, because we've always plowed them, they annexed them in, and they want us to continue
Oh,
carrying
no,
all
we
their
can't do
roads. Well, they're mad, but he can't legally, and so we can't do something for one and not do for the other. And I don't wanna cut, I love Winterset, but,
well,
I
you know,
mean, let's do,
they're taxpayers too, but at the same
Yeah.
time, we need to make sure that we keep, we're aware that we're a county entity, not a city entity, and, especially this year, we're gonna have to look at things we probably haven't looked at before.
There's a lot of things up in the area, and this is close, these numbers are closer than I thought they were.
Yeah.
And we've
It's
got bigger
better.
numbers in there for raises than at this time.
This time.
So there's some trimming there. So I think Heather will report back on Board of Health.
Let me ask you a question, what do you guys think? Cause they'll ask for a sense of the board. Diane, you talked about the building, moving people into the CICS office.
no, it's gonna be, I promise you, it's gonna, Thaddeus is gonna have a meltdown.
I already talked to Thaddeus about that.
I'll help him move, I had to help him move out there, I even
He
carried
said he
his
would
table.
prefer it not, but he said if he has to, he has to, as long as that ramp and door is working, okay?
And you have to give him a window,
I,
Thaddeus has gotta have a window.
I met with Betsy and Liza this morning on the mental health stuff, and I asked Michelle to put it on the agenda as a discussion item
Okay.
next Tuesday. But Warren County and Madison County are kind of in the same boat on that, because it's likely that that's gonna get switched around, or we're gonna land in the pool. They currently have 4 offices rented in Warren County, and their lease is up. They're kind of looking to have 2 offices there, 2 offices here, and some of that is laying the groundwork so that when we are get stuck in a Polk County, there's an expectation that there are mental health services in Madison County.
Okay.
So some of that's kind of a preemptive move a little bit. That makes sense?
So you're
So-
saying we should not consider that office?
Well, I'm
Or
saying-
just consider it a shared,
Or there was some conversation about the assessors moving over there, you know, so I don't know. What they really need is we need one dedicated office and another floating office, but they kind of need them, they kind of need a private space to meet with clients, so there's some privacy. So anyway, they would like to get back to having some people in Madison County, which I think is important.
but I don't think they need an office that
They
big.
don't necessarily
they
need that
don't.
office.
They only need really that little back room is what they use. So do we have another room we could,
Well, there's that office door, I mean, there's technically 2 offices
Yeah, there's a
that
vault
we
office
closed.
and then there's that other office.
Right, and then you have that open area.
she uses that little back one that has the window in it.
Right.
Chip wants to go back down the basement,
We moved them out of there because of potential asbestos.
but like he says, it's all sealed up. It's sealed, it's not
Well,
exposed.
I think we should evaluate that first, professionally. Because I don't want to move employees down there if there's an issue. But I'm not opposed to that, or how about moving them in that office? Just creating an office in there.
Who, Chip?
Yeah,
And we're-
there's a huge
In
space
there?
in the
That is a
telco
great big
box.
space. They
Because
could
she
make
can,
that a nice
because Jen
office.
can create a cage to wall off the telco stuff, and the rest of that room we can make offices right in there.
I did talk to Phil, about the assessor's office location. It's an HVAC issue. It's freezing in there all the time.
It
It's not
is.
uncomfortable. It's not comfortable for staff. they're kind of at their wits' end with that space.
So it's really more of a building issue.
It is a building
versus
issue, it's not
space
a, I
issue.
don't think it's necessary, Jessica didn't say it was necessarily a space issue, it's not
Well,
working for us.
that needs to be
It
addressed
needs
no
to
matter
be
who's in there.
addressed, yes.
Could we
So-
put a wall, remember those old-fashioned wall furnaces? Could you put a wall furnace in there?
Well, it's left up for the professionals.
The other option is,
Could you do it? Is there a way you could heat it without changing your whole heating system?
You're looking at me like I'm an HVAC person.
Yeah, well,
what,
that's a.
I do
that's a question
those,
for
I don't do
Chief Michelle.
HVAC.
what about, because I talked to Ryan, Ryan says they work very closely with the assessor's office, why don't we move the assessor's office down where Dio is?
That's not big enough. You 3 people?
Why does the treasurer did function with just one half of that, and then they had the assessor on that side, why? And then we
It
put,
was just too noisy. It wasn't, I think we've got treasurers probably okay right now, space-wise. It sounds like there's an HVAC situation, and we get that resolved, maybe we're not looking to shuffle spaces. That sounds like,
So back to the Board of Health. If we end up, through attrition, cutting staff, we're gonna have, what, 6 people? That's a big building for just 6 people. We could put 6 people in that CICS office. We'd have to get rid of that big desk in the front.
well, they're in and out so
And they're in
much.
and out, they're not there, and then just have the closed offices for those that meet with clients. So that would be CICS and settings.
Then we could,
that's gonna be too full in there.
And that's assuming we stay 6 people. If people end up,
I don't think it's an FY 25 deal. Maybe it's a deal, but I don't think you're gonna get it done in time to affect your FY 25 budget.
why?
because we could sell that building, that would give us a little bit more buffer for our budget.
I understand that. I hate to give up real estate because you have to replace it, it's gonna cost you a lot more.
Yeah, but what do you, okay,
Yeah, but
so,
that real estate we were talking about refurbishing anyway, because it needs it really bad. So, and then to your point, what would we need new real estate for?
I don't know.
Because we're not gonna have the budget to grow government
no, and
with our restrictions.
we don't
So we
need to.
really don't need real estate. If we can make what we have work better, more efficiently, then we can potentially sell that building. Get additional, like you said, maybe 300,000, 350,000.
It's got an acre and it's a
Big lot.
huge
It's a
building.
big
Big lot.
Big lot.
And then we could use that to make a buffer, and if not use this year, maybe buffer next year when our expenses go up. So,
It's kinda like using ARP money, though, you're using one-time revenue sources for,
I don't disagree,
Budgeting
but
expenses.
But you've
we're gonna have to be
stopped-
creative.
And I don't think we're getting, I think it's costing us more than what we're getting. It's not sound business.
I looked at, last year, not this year yet, because we're not done, but when I looked at revenues for those 2 departments versus expenditures, there was a net county spend of about $400,000 a year. So that's a lot of money, and if we can move some of that stuff into the private sector, because basically government's competing with the private sector, and maybe slowly start scaling that back, that's a potential huge increase in our budget for the future.
well, let's see how your meeting goes this evening.
So- Do you want me to talk to them about that potential, of moving into the courthouse?
Yeah.
I guess that's my question.
Oh, you're gonna go, it's gonna be like a lead
Oh,
balloon.
that's okay.
If you're looking for a space, you're looking for,
What?
You gotta
better
wear a
wear a
shield?
You better, Jason has an
Sit
extra
back,
vest.
I have a shield.
I think it'll be all right.
And be ready.
I have at least two board members that are open to
Okay,
creative
okay.
thinking, so.
You know what, gently throw it out.
I don't, that corner space isn't enough. You need more space than that.
I don't know, I
I
mean,
don't know
I
either,
don't
because you've got
know.
the big back vault, then you have the little back room, then you've got that other office in between, then you have
you
that
could
little
put 2 desks
walkway.
in that vault.
Well, and if you're talking about the recorder, the old chip space, I
Yeah.
don't know, I mean, that's
That could
another
be a value
possibility
That
too.
could be,
Or, that could be moved CICS into there.
you could, because I don't know that they specially I don't know that they seem they would care if they're not there. This
We
would
moved
be-
them out of the basement though for a good reason.
But
Yeah, no, I
this
get it.
would be, I get it too.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that
This
that
one
this
is
was an
okay.
option. And, but I don't know what your thoughts are. Do you want somebody housed in the courthouse? You're
That's their
overseeing that
primary-
building,
That's
like,
their primary
Mhm.
space to
Yep.
take care of. You know, it's, by square footage, it's the biggest one by far.
yeah, I mean, that's something.
So I
you
don't
guys
think
will
it makes
have
sense to
figure
stick
out.
them, get them out of the courthouse.
Where else could we, what other room could they have? Is there anything?
What about on the third floor?
Well, the court, that's what I'm gonna have to figure out with the court systems. They
Because
wanna-
remember, Matt is the one that created that second courtroom, and I don't think it's used that often.
I have to figure out a place for a lactation room, and then when I figure it out, then they'll say, oh, we use that all the time. But then another lawyer will say, oh, we never use that room. I don't know
But
what
we can
rooms they use.
designate a, just like we did down here in this building, we designate one and just label it properly and let people know. But I think there's unused space on that
I
third
do
floor
too.
we could use.
It's like that break room off the third floor where we used to meet at one point was a lactation space.
Mhm.
And that's
I know
my
people have used it.
That a lot of them do when they like it, because the sink is right there, they can shut the door, and that's gonna be my suggestion, but I find Marcus. But that's the room I think would be, if it were me, that's the room. Because the refrigerator is there and the sink is there.
There's also that, is it a conference room that they're using now, the old county attorney's office across from where Aaron is now,
Yeah.
that's where they all used to be.
That's a big empty, there's nothing ever
I
in
think they
there.
use it as a conference room or
They have-
something,
they have
but I'm
toys.
like,
Do they have, that's where attorneys,
They have
clients
toys,
eat?
when they have little children, they put them in there, and they have a play area when they have to try to get children to sit.
sure.
But that's not very often, of course, but they do use it.
I do feel like we're restricted on space in the courthouse right now, based on the state and the county attorney taking over the entire second, third floor.
Right.
It makes it really tough to, I mean, we have no space over there for anything. Like the state auditors I have to put over here, because I'm like, I don't have a room for you for more than 2 people.
Is
Like,
there a reason why the county attorney is not in the county attorney's offices? Is there not enough offices there?
I don't know what's back there.
I
as
think
far as
I would like
offices.
to have the third floor back. I just don't think they use it enough to make it warranted. They still have that great big room, you know where the jury room is? Then there's another great big room. No
Outside.
one uses that one.
I don't know how many rooms are off the courtroom either, because the courtroom and then there's the
We have
rooms.
the judge's chamber, you have the 2 jury rooms.
2 jury rooms.
Jury,
okay.
and then you go through a closet, and then you go into a room that goes into Nick's office.
Right.
But there's that great big jury room, no, the big one and then the other one, that's never used.
think
It's
it's
just
Can't
on the
really
table.
use it because it's on the other side of the courtroom.
Yeah, I know, that's why it's really wasted
I
space.
think that we can do some reorganization,
I do too.
so we can move people and sell that building. And I think we need to look at that. Because
What are the-
this is difficult this year, and again, we don't know what the unions are gonna come back with. We need to make sure we have a plan. Cause I don't wanna be having this discussion again next year. I wanna have it either in the process by next year or done.
I want it, that's why I suggested it. I think it makes business sense.
Are there regulations around, like, if you're not going to make the decision on public health or home health and you're gonna move them, what are the regulations around what is required for a clinic? Where do we have the space to create a clinic? You know,
Assuming we keep the clinic.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
no,
wanna-
yeah.
I wanna keep the home health care and eliminate the clinic, because it just doesn't
Even
do,
though home health care is, the funding's gonna go away,
well,
and technically that is directly competing with the private sector.
I think they both sort
it's a
of
30,
are.
40.
I would be okay with
Sorry.
eliminating, what'd you say?
Nothing, my chair's squeaking, I'm like, I won't move.
No, you're gonna go right to the
Mhm.
floor. Okay, I would be okay with probably total elimination. I don't like the home health care thing, but
Like we were told, there's counties that are laying off staff.
You know, all that.
And I don't wanna lay off staff.
I don't wanna lay off staff.
We can eliminate that department rule.
I know.
So that's what I'm saying.
Report back on the 14th.
So do you want me to, let them know that we're considering that?
Yeah, lay it out, be
Reach
honest.
it, see what happens. 'Cause
See, this is what we're
You guys
thinking.
need to make a plan going forward and.
This is what we're thinking, okay.
And when your eye's black tomorrow, we'll
Maybe you
know.
could paper airplane it and run out.
I think I'll be all right.
Also, don't forget to figure out the plan for when Susan is gone.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is on their agenda to talk
Okay,
to
because
Susan.
I'm real worried about that. I get a lot of stuff from Susan.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that too. It is on their agenda to discuss.
Okay.
You know, we can't really discuss this, but Susan is a huge asset.
She
Well,
is.
I don't think the board really understood until fairly recently what was actually going on over there.
No,
I think they relied very heavily on reports from those in charge, and until we had some new board members, people were not double checking their work. At least that's, because some of them are just very surprised. At least that's my take. I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll find out tonight.
All right, well, hopefully I'll hear back from Mike and I'll relay that information, because asking you to, what we get from Mike, I think we want to put in, what do you want to put in? For a placeholder.
Oh, for Teamsters?
oh,
We had so many discussions.
I know.
So we just put in what we offered?
yeah, put in what we
That's my
offer.
initial,
Okay.
well, that's, you know where he was headed with some of that stuff. He's kind of heading for a 1-year adjustment, and not so much years 2 and 3. 'Cause
That's for ambulance, right?
No, for sheriffs
No,
too.
sheriffs
He
was-
was saying the high-end deputies were underpaid.
Here it is.
Yeah.
No, I got it.
He was gonna kind of check their math a little bit and come back.
I think just as a placeholder, I think we just put what we originally offered,
Okay.
and then we can adjust it.
All right, let's talk about that. I think they're gonna say no, but then could we come back and say, all right, we'll leave the cap on your insurance if you take it away lower?
No,
No,
we need to get that insurance done,
We
and
need to get
they're not balking at that, so.
Yeah, they didn't say, they said they were okay
we could
with
always
that.
increase our placeholder to like 6%.
I think it's ends up somewhere between there.
Yeah, or 5.
Let's give it a five.
It's not gonna be straight and simple, it's gonna be a
No,
high
because
risk.
I think there's some adjustments that need to be done in the lower grades, the lower steps.
So what do we decide?
The last thing we were gonna go to the 4896 and the sheriff at 4% across the board, which we originally proposed 3, we went back at 4, and they weren't biting on that, and they came back at 4.5 per hour year 1 across the board for deputies, and 6 and 5%, which
Yeah,
was
for 2 and 3.
applying. Our last offer was 4% across the board for sheriffs. So, happy.
No,
Yes.
should we but this is just a placeholder, so maybe we should just put the same percentage as we're doing for all the other employees for
Well,
now.
If it's 5, that's already in there, right?
Oh, 5's already in there? Okay, well then,
So let's
Leave
do
it.
it at that.
let's
5
leave
to
it
change
for
the
now.
ambulance back to the 4896.
Yeah, I can, I
Yeah.
have that spreadsheet, so I'll just put it all right back and.
I don't think they'll go for arbitration. That would not be our benefit, do you? I hope not.
Wow,
It's gonna be some sort of a hybrid, I think, after we've got, it's, that whole law enforcement budget is just kinda crazy, cause some of it's back to blue and chasing that, and, but then you put that out there, but then you put these guardrails on us so that we can't fund that, but you're playing catch up on that.
there was actually no thought in how that
There
back
was
to blue would
not.
have impacted, they were just thinking sheriff, which I commend them for doing that, but they had no forethought on how that would impact
It's
down the line.
so typical state government, they put the cart before the horse, they
So
no
frustrating.
thought of the. Do you know what my son's Teamsters are asking for? 30%.
Increase?
30%
Holy
increase
cow.
if they don't get, I don't know what they're gonna settle on, they're gonna say shut down the plant.
All right, anything else we
Um,
can accomplish today?
I don't,
There's something I think we're forgetting.
real quick, I just wanna keep you updated. Secondary roads had an employee resign, which caused an employee in the recorder's office to have to take insurance. So I did have Brandy resubmit a new budget sheet for FY '25 to add in family insurance for an employee that wasn't in there before. So we went ahead and had her add that in. So I just, in case I send you a full budget report again, I want you to know that we increased her health insurance line to cover loss of insurance from the spouse.
Did Jason send you the revenue from the city on the jail?
No,
No. Oh,
I didn't hear anything from him after his meeting.
he's supposed to do that.
Yeah, because they, last we heard, they hadn't done it yet. They haven't sent it yet.
So they need to. And it's supposed to go increase a bit each year per call, so.
No, they go by population.
Per population. Oh,
It's
okay.
limits per call.
Oh, okay, you're right, yes.
Any thoughts on when you would like to shoot for the property tax hearing? It can't be any earlier than March 25th, so we've got some time if we wanna sit tight on scheduling that, but we're gonna wanna think through, when are we thinking for the property tax hearing, when are we thinking for a budget hearing?
Well, what works for you, so you're done?
Tomorrow, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm out the week of spring break, but otherwise, and that's too early to have anything anyways.
So what are you looking at?
Well, I know, in the past, the max levy hearing was always done during a regularly scheduled budget meeting, so I don't know if you're wanting to stick with that plan again. If that's the case,
Is this the one, don't we do hearings in the evening now?
we do the
The
regular
budget.
budget
This is the
hearing in
ma-
the evening.
This
So
is what used to be the max levy.
what used to be
hearing,
the max levy hearing is now called the property tax hearing.
Which I think
Which is really completely irrelevant.
It is.
Is
Correct.
this,
It's
is this the one you have to send postcards out, or is that the
You
evening?
have to send the mailing to, all the mailing, yep.
For
And we
the
have
first
to,
meeting,
for the property tax hearing.
which is less noteworthy than the second meeting.
Yep.
And why are they
Well-
calling it property tax? I mean,
Because it shows like what the county's gonna ask,
Ask
what
for
each,
it.
county, city, schools for your parcel are going to, could ask for property tax dollars.
If we're gonna send we're gonna spend that expense to send postcards out on a hearing, I think we should have it in. Because people are gonna wanna come. If you're getting a postcard. Because otherwise what's gonna happen, if we send a postcard, we set the hearing during the date, people are gonna upset, saying you're having a public hearing, notifying me about it, but I can't attend it because I have to work.
I don't care, you have it at night.
Are we?
And like I said, we don't have to decide today, but I wanna be able to get you guys a resolution setting those dates.
The other hearing date, which you said was the budget hearing.
The budget hearing.
That one, is that required under code to be
It was during our meeting, wasn't
during
it?
the evening, or just, we just
Nope.
normally have done it in
We
the
did
We've
it during our
normally just
meeting.
done it in the evening.
evening?
No, the max levy you've done
We
during
did.
your meeting.
And then the
budget
other one we
hearing
do
is
at
at
night.
night.
Yeah.
Mhm. So,
Say that again, budget is,
budget
is at night?
hearing is at night.
Oh, yes,
And that's the one we usually do on a Monday night for you guys to approve on Tuesday. And then the property tax hearing, you guys can decide. I mean, Heather had a good point with doing it in the evening.
We're spending all that money. We might as well make it easier for them to attend.
so.
It has to be after March
That
twenty-sixth.
has to be after March 25th, because that's when the letters have to be out by.
So
Yeah,
March
by the
25th, so you're
28th.
gonna have to give them the 25th, so give them a few days to get a postcard.
Well, I have to have it mailed by the 20th, so they're saying don't have your hearing before the 25th to allow a few
Right.
days.
Why don't we
make
do
sure
the
they get
first
their
week of
notice.
April?
How about
We
April
could always do
1st?
it April.
That is the.
We could give them
That'd
a
be
laugh.
ironic.
Do you wanna do it April first?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say, April first?
Okay,
April
really?
1st, and
That's
we're
good.
thinking evening for that?
6 o'clock?
Oh, wait, April first, that's the Republican Central Committee is on April, meeting is on April first.
What time is that?
But that just,
7,
well, that doesn't,
You can do this at 6, I shouldn't.
unless we have a lot of people making comments. Up to you guys, I don't want you to change because of that just popped into my mind, I don't have to go to that.
Let's
I
do it at
just don't-
6, let's do it at 6 and hopefully you get out of here by 7.
yeah, let's go April 1 at 6.
April 1
And this is the budget, this is.
Property tax hearing.
Property tax hearing at
Okay.
6
You
o'clock.
got it.
We're gonna do, I'm gonna send you an invite.
Yeah.
And then on your next, board agenda, next week, I will have a resolution setting that hearing date, just for formality purposes.
Do you wanna do the budget hearing, or no, we'll do this one first, do you wanna go ahead?
So we do this one, and then we have to publish for the budget.
We can't publish the
Do we-
budget until after you've had this hearing.
Right, so that will be 10, not less than 10, not more than 20, so that'll put us into,
Well, when is your next, regularly scheduled budget meeting? Would be the 20,
Budget meeting is 14th.
no, sorry, board meeting. Your next scheduled board meeting would be the 23rd of April.
yeah.
That would be your fourth
So you're
Tuesday.
saying it'd be Monday the 22nd?
So Monday the
Traditionally.
22nd.
Okay,
Yeah.
does that give you enough time to get it to them by the 30th?
Oh, yeah.
April the 22nd at
Turn it into myself.
6 o'clock again.
Yeah, at 6 o'clock. You wanna do it here, you wanna do it in the courtroom? I think last time we did, last,
Yeah.
We did it
here. Okay, so we'll do both of them here.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'd like to have these done sooner rather than later. It drags this whole cycle out.
Yeah, I feel like we're just dragging it out.
I think, tomorrow's gonna be interesting, don't you, Heather? At the supervisors ISAC meeting?
Yeah, there's gonna be lots of conversations about lots of things. Because legislative session, they're having some interesting bills.
Have you heard any steam on the getting rid of the comp board again and redoing all of that?
I
It
haven't
comes
heard
up
anything.
I
every
have
year.
not heard a thing. That's not true.
I don't
I've
know.
heard they're not getting rid, they don't.
I don't know if there's any energy on budgets or anything that affects property taxes because they want the dust to settle. So, but again, that can change, session is still early, but first funnel is in a week, so if it doesn't make it through first funnel, it probably is dead, and unless, leadership brings it up. But more than likely it's dead.
Okay, I sent both of those to you. I'll prep the resolutions for you to formally set those, next week.
Before that first meeting, I'd like to have our budget pretty much done, so
I would
we
love to
can,
too.
we can report to people, it's like, yes, this is what we have to do, this is what we plan to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, you know, once we get an idea on wages, then we can have that, and we can, you guys can tweak from there, what you need to do, but.
That might be interesting.
So right now, though, in your budget, Shelley, it's for elected officials is 3.57, and for sheriff is 5.
Correct.
Okay.
And then everybody else 5.
Everybody else 5.
Yeah.
3.57 and everybody else 5.
We've got
Yes.
some wiggle room there.
The 3.57 for electeds and their deputies, 5% for any other staff they have, and then 5% for anybody in a union or a non-union employee that doesn't fall under deputy, or under an elected.
And obviously, the union ones are subject to change, too. Basically, this is fluid number, it's not.
Yeah. Correct.
All right, anything else this morning?
I don't think I have anything else for you.
Nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Heather, any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries.